Sleepers Media Top 25 Transfer Class Rankings. Today I am joined by J-Man to talk an ACC team, my North Carolina Tar Heels. Tar Heels retooled their roster. They have just one returner of note with Seth Trimble. Hubert Davis and co. got to work in the portal, bringing in six transfers. They are coming in as 19th in our consensus rankings. I had them at 16. J-Man had them at 20th. Dion and Carter both had them unranked. And believe it or not, Tar Heel fans, the man who you swear hates us, Greg Waddell, was the high one at who ranked Carolina at 14. What do you think about this class, just from a broad overview, J Man?
Yeah, look, I think I like the class. I know obviously I'm a Duke fan to where people might hear me have them 20th and you have them higher than me. It's like, of course, this Duke fan has them 20th, but I do like the pieces. I see the vision, what Hubert Davis is going towards. And look, the knock on UNC last year was they had no size. And one thing, he went to the portal and he got his size, and
Mm-hmm.
which we'll talk about. So I like that aspect, and I like that every guy, the guys that he got are building around Caleb Wilson. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is something that I really like. Obviously, what Duke did with Cooper Flag last year, as a Duke fan, that's why I liked Sion James. Nobody knew who Sion James was, but I thought he was a great portal piece. And we'll talk about these guys to where I think it meshes well with Caleb Wilson, what he can bring in his 1 year at UNC.
I'm with you on that. I think it is a group of guys who does sort of accentuate what Caleb Wilson does best. We have Henry Veesaar, who's a true five man who should open up the floor for Wilson. I think Wilson's really good with the ball in his hands. I think the best version of Carolina involves him functioning as, if not the one of the top two playmakers for this team. I like the size and shooting they surrounded him with. And this will get into my one word, but my biggest knock is the question marks. Pretty much all six of these guys have question marks around them. But if, let's say, three of them hit, it's really easy to envision the role allocation being smooth for this unit. And if you're a Hubert Davis optimist, I think you point to the 2024 season. And that to me was just a team that knew who it was. It knew that it was RJ Davis taking shots in crunch time. It knew it was Harrison Ingram and Armando Bacot doing the dirty work on the glass. And speaking of Harrison Ingram, I mean, he got them going defensively. You had Cormac Ryan, who often would guard top level wings and knock down threes, come off screen. So that to me is the formula here for what Carolina can be its best under Hubert, is when you have guys who know who they are and they know what they're supposed to be doing. But like I said, a lot of question marks, which gets to my one word, which is wild card.
Yeah, I like that. My one word is roles because I have them all as role players. And that's not a knock on the class at all. That is something to where, like I said, I just talked about Sion James as a Duke fan, and you talked about like Cormac Ryan, like he went into his role at UNC, and obviously the game in Cameron lit it up and taunted, and rightfully so, because that's what you want out of a transfer. And he did
Mm-hmm.
that for UNC in his time there. And I think he was an elite role player. And I think a couple of these guys have a high ceiling for that. And
Yep.
I don't know where you want to start. I'll let you start. You're the UNC guy, so I want you to start with your first guy.
I'll start with the one I'm most excited about, and that's Henry Veesaar. I gave him 5 stars. I have the receipts on my Twitter account from back in February when I would watch Arizona and just think, dude, this dude is a monster. Why is he not getting more minutes? Which was a hard pivot, J Man. You remember that game that they played against Duke in Tucson?
Yeah.
Henry Veesaar was a traffic cone that game. I remember I think I did a recap of that for Sleepers and was like, why is Tommy Lloyd giving Veesaar minutes? And then once conference play started, it was like he flipped a switch and became this awesome rim protector. The shot blocking numbers aren't elite. I would say they're good, not great. But if you look at the on-off numbers for Veesaar, like Arizona's defense was, I don't have them in front of me, but I can at least, I have looked at them. It was way better with Veesaar on than it was without him when they went to their bench, or I guess he came off the bench in plenty of games. But yeah, I love what he can offer defensively. I think he's such a stud in terms of making plays off the short roll or making passing reads at the top of the key, which there was not a soul. Let me emphasize this. There was not a soul who was capable of that at UNC last year. I think after a full season of watching Van Allen Lubin not really know what to do with the ball in his hands other than dunk if he was 3 feet or closer into the basket, compared to Henry Veesaar, who is skilled and who knows how to read a defense, who has good touch on his passes, that is going to be a sight for sore eyes for Carolina fans. So I'm very excited about Veesaar, massive believer in him.
Yeah, I have Veesaar. He is my highest. I'm at a 4 star though. I understand the 5 star 100%. 9 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, a block, 1.3 blocks per game in 21 minutes. So obviously that 21 minutes is going to go closer to 30, and hopefully for
Mm-hmm.
you fans. But his touch around the rim, like shot 73% around the rim. He has a nice little hook, like he's very soft touch in the paint at 7 foot, which is very nice to see if you're a UNC fan. But one thing that I really liked from him was from December 14th to March 14th, he attempted at least 1 3 in all but 2 games. So can he step outside and hit that top of the key three? He shot 33% from three. That's not bad for a
Hmm.
7 foot center in college basketball. So can he step outside to, create even more space for Caleb Wilson to where it's a pick and pop and then he cuts? Who knows? But I like what he can bring to UNC on the offensive side with that touch and around the rim. But again, defensively, it's going to be nice to see a 7 footer in the paint for UNC. And even if he's a traffic cone, it's like, you know what? Put that traffic cone in the paint and at
Yeah,
least you
right.
test something. So you don't want a traffic cone that's 6'8". That's the worst part.
Yeah, my only knock on him, he's not a great rebounder at this point in his career, and he is a little bit lean despite being 7 feet tall. And he's not like, I mean, granted, it's been a while since Carolina's had a true back to the basket, give him the ball on the block, let him go to work. Like even Armando, he could do that a little bit, but he was much more score off putbacks and became a pretty good playmaker on the short roll. So we'll see. I don't know if I expect him to average like 16 plus points per game, but could see him settle nicely into 12 to 14 points per game. Where I will try to sell you to bump it up from a 4 star to a 5 star is just looking at the other big men who transferred. There weren't a ton of high level 5 men who hit the portal. So I'm just
Yes.
saying that's a little bit of why I bump him there. When you compare him to the rest of the class, I'm like, there weren't too many big men that hit the portal that I would take after Veesaar, but I'll let it slide. But next up, I want to talk about Jonathan Powell, who's my second highest ranked player. I have him as a 4 star, and that's mainly because of the upside. I think that there's a chance that dude just has unlimited range in year two. The knock on him would be he did hardly anything other than take threes his freshman year at West Virginia. I think I'm not positive off the top of my head, but I want to say he attempted like 4 shots at the rim all year. It's something super low like that.
I have his stats right here for you.
All right, let me hear it.
I have him as one of my 3 stars. He shot 35 around the rim, but 46% on layups. So he wasn't great on layups, but the key stat for me that I thought was wild was he only shot 25 free throws all year. He was
Yes.
12 of 25 from the line, and he played 30 minutes per game. So like that's crazy. Like that is almost statistically impossible to only shoot that many free throws playing 30 minutes per game. So I see the potential with him, though, what you talk about, because like he can shoot. Like he shot 35% from three, but he shot some tough ones. It could be higher 30s if he shoots better ones. So he has a good shot. He just can he do more than that for UNC? And even if he doesn't, I think it's okay because he brings such a lightning rod with his 3 point shooting that might just be what UNC needs. But he needs to be a lot better around the rim and shoot way more free throws than what I say 25.
Yeah,
That's
12 for
20.
25 is crazy for him being a shooter too. Like
Yes.
I need to know what happened. Okay, he attempted 4 dunks on the season. That was the number I was thinking of. So,
Okay,
but
that
yeah,
makes
so
sense.
he got to the rim. He made all four, 100% on dunks, but
Shocked everybody in the gym when he got through the 3 point line.
I'm not gonna lie, Jay man. I'm gonna be a little homer with bumping up to a 4 star. I totally get the
That's
3 star
okay.
justification, but this is
That's
Sleepers
okay.
Media. You get a little homerism here. Who do you want to hit on next?
I would like to hit on Jarin Stevenson, actually.
Okay, let me hear you go first with Jaron. What do you have him for his star ranking?
I have him as a 3 star, but like
Mhm.
I put a one word for him. I put potential because like I mean he's 6'10", 215. Yeah, he's a little scrawny, sure, whatever. But I mean you turn on the film against Texas last year, he had 22 on 7 of 8, 4 or 5 from 3 in 20 minutes. Like that excites the hell out of me. And so I like that part of him, but obviously when I say one word potential is because he averaged 2.2 fouls per game by playing only 19 minutes. He fouled out 3 times last year, and all 3 games he played 20 minutes or less. And in game two against Arkansas State, it's probably my favorite box score. He played 10 minutes and had 4 fouls against Arkansas State. So it's like, just move your feet, big fella. You're 6'10". Let your arms do the work. Stop reaching, like put them to your side. But I have him as a 3 star because I think that like the athleticism, yes, he shot 31% from three. I think he has a good enough shot to where that can be like 34, 35.
Mhm.
And if you just don't foul at 6'10", like I think he is a nice piece for UNC. Like I see the potential with him. He just don't foul. That's my thing. Don't foul.
Yeah, he committed 4.7 fouls per 40 minutes last year. So that's definitely a clear area of improvement for him. What's funny is he's a good defender. Like they played him at the three for a large stretch of the season because he can switch on to guards. There were times I watched this happen, J Man, in between bouts of anger, frustration, rage, and lament, even grieving. You could throw that in there. When I watched Alabama come play Carolina in the Dean Dome and chant "Roll Tide" on Roy Williams' court, that depressed me. But there were stretches for that game where he was guarding RJ Davis. He is mobile. He has quick feet, and that's always been the sell on him going back to his high school days when he was, originally a top 10, top 15 prospect before reclassing, was how well he moved at 6'10, 6'11. And I don't really have any concerns with that. I think you're going to see a decent amount of lineups where he's playing the four, Caleb Wilson's at the three, and you just have size like positionally that you didn't have last year. And that should be enticing for Carolina fans. I had him as a 3-star, though, because while I don't really have any questions with the defense aside from the fouling, the offense to me is just, can we see more of that player that we saw against Texas who got downhill, who would, I watched that game. I know they bring him off of dribble handoffs and let him get into the paint and go to work as opposed to just sort of floating. And that's been the story for 2 years at Alabama, floating around the perimeter, settling for 3-point jumpers, and frankly missing a good bit of them. I will say he was much better at shooting from deep in conference play. It was at 42%. And what's crazy is, I mean, he didn't make his first 3-pointer last year until the Players Era tournament on November 27th. Like his box scores was 0 for 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 5 against McNeese, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 1, then finally hit 2 against Rutgers. So he started out really cold and still, I mean, at least he still finished at 31% with that cold start. So
Yeah.
hopefully, he can get a little bit more acclimated. And I agree with you. I think 34 to 35% from three should be a realistic expectation.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great stat though about him starting so cold because that puts in perspective that is damn near 40% the rest of the way. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you start at 0 of 10 and you don't shoot that many, yeah, it's going to affect that field goal percentage. So like I said, I like him a lot. That one word for me with him was potential because you just see that Texas game like this guy, this is like why is he not a 5-star with this
Right,
ranking? But
right.
I like Jarin Stevenson a lot.
hmm We'll move on to who I think, and probably many Carolina fans would agree, the most important player from this class in terms of just being a swing factor, even I would say is Kyan Evans, point guard coming in from Colorado State. I gave him 3 stars. He, as much as I mean, he's a swing factor for a reason. I think he's probably my biggest question mark just because if you watch Colorado State last year, they run a ton of motion. I think Nico Medved's an awesome offensive coach. He would bring the ball up court, but he would usually give it up as soon as he crossed half court. And they ran so much through Nick Clifford, which allowed him to be a catch and shoot assassin. He had that huge moment in the tournament, put up 26 points against Memphis. The potential is there, but he looks a little bit on the undersized side. I mean, he's listed at 6'2". That might be a little generous. Where are you at on Kyan Evans?
I have him as a 3-star as well, but I like him more in this offense than Elliot Cadeau. Like I think
Mm,
he did upgrade in terms of just the system. Like you need a guy. Elliot Cadeau is very fun for UNC in the fast break that UNC was so good at, but in terms of half court, he killed UNC. I mean, points per possession, Elliot Cadeau was 0.787, which is 21st percentile. Evans was 1.021, which is 79th percentile.
okay.
So you get a guy like that, and on jumpers, he was 43% on jumpers. Cadeau was 35. And on layups, Elliot Cadeau was 51% to Evans 65%. I will say Cadeau shot almost 100 more layups. He shot 156 because you don't want him shooting jumpers. Evans shot 65, but you just he's a better fit for what they want in the half court because
Mhm.
he just will make the right play and he can keep a defense honest. There's no more sagging in the paint to where, hey, shoot this point guard. Like that
Right,
kills an offense and
right.
it kills everybody's confidence on the court. I don't care what anybody says. It kills everybody's confidence on the court because now you're playing 4-on-5. So I think I agree with you. I have him as a 3-star, but I like him as what the role should be for him in this offense.
Yeah, you mentioned the layups and the percentages there. If you look at his shot chart on like CBB Analytics, there's a lot of red. It looks great. It's like, oh, I love this super efficient player, but it's just going back to, I mean, is it almost like Jason Kent at Indiana State who leaves that situation and goes to play for Texas, or Julian Larry? Both those dudes were very efficient under Josh Schertz, but we're seeing now Schertz is a great offensive minded coach who has a system that guys fit and he's great at identifying pieces for that. I wonder if there's a little bit of that could happen here, but Evans he'll get his opportunity to be the lead guard, to be that primary initiator. We'll find out pretty quick. Like Carolina plays Kansas the second game of the year. How does he look going up against Darren Peterson? Can he knock down shots in that environment? But, I would say the optimist side is we saw how much he improved from freshman to sophomore year. Maybe there's another leap to take. And even just the presence of Caleb Wilson or the playmaking of Veesaar eases that burden off of him a little bit. So let's round out with there's two guys who I don't really project to be major contributors, but we'll start with the one who could crack the rotation, and that's Jaden Young out of Virginia Tech. Where are you at on him?
Yeah, I just put him as a 2 star. I just have him as a bench depth. He he was very his box scores were hilarious last year. I watched this film, but like 8 points per game in 22 minutes, 35, 30, 82 splits. But just to sum up him as a player last year of Virginia Tech, they played Cal twice last year. In one box score, he scored 14 points on 6 of 11. The second game, he scored 12 points on 5 of 19. And like the guy just pulls 30% from three on 152% or 152 attempts. I put damn because that is a lot of pulling for 30%,
Bro,
and then only 38 free throws. So that's I have him as a 2 star, but I'll let you take the rest. But yeah, volatile guy for him.
Yeah, I have him as a 1 star. I'll get into that a little bit more. But you mentioned his 3 point percentage. These were his 3 point percentage his last 4 games. He was four. I can't even say this without laughing, dude. Or excuse me, this was his last 3 games, not even four. He was 4 for 26 in 3 games.
God.
4 for 26 in a 3 game stretch. You know how insane that is? Like to just like that dude did not see a shot he didn't like. I have him as a 1 star just because it's really, really hard for me to get past that ghastly field goal percentage, 34.7%, 29% from three. And doing this under a coach and Mike White, Mike Young, doing this under a coach and Mike Young, who I think is a really good offensive mind and still not getting any sort of bump in efficiency. I will say if he can become a solid, like, 8 minute game guy who comes off the bench and knocks down threes every once in a while, he will be beloved by Carolina fans because he's a North Carolina kid. Grew up a Tar Heel fan. He's from Goldsboro, played for CP3 on the EYBL circuit. Like this dude is as Tar Heel as they come. I just fear that he's not a very good basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he just, if you want to be a stand for him, if you're listening, then maybe he just, threw in the white flag at the end of the season. It's like, I'm just going to pull and then so be it. But, the whole season was kind of like that box score, like I
Mhm.
said, with the cow box score. And so 1 star, I could see that. I thought I was being, a little tough on 2 star, but I like that again, your Tar Heels a lot more than anybody else that I've ever known. So I agree with you there. He is like you said, he's 8 to 10 minutes would be a win for UNC in their roles.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, I wanted to be honest with this one to balance out my homers and for Jonathan Powell, but you mentioned with the 38 free throw attempts last year, he only attempted six as a freshman. I mean, that's fewer than 50 free throw attempts in 2 years of basketball. And I mean, he's 6'4", 205. Like he's got a pretty stocky build. So that would be the other area of concern for me is just does he know how to use his frame? Can he get downhill and be a little more well-rounded, or is he just going to get in there and gun? Because if he gets in there and guns, he'll fall out of favor pretty quick. Because he is like, I just hope that he doesn't, whenever he gets his shot for minutes, that it's not like, oh, I got to go in and kill and take whatever shot is open for me. It's to play within the flow of the offense and settle in a little bit more. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll round out this transfer class with their most recent addition, Ivan Matlakovich from High Point.
I was like, wait, there's one more, and I totally forgot about the dude from Op. Yeah, I 1 star. He's just a big body, big practice guy. There's nothing wrong with that. Like
Yeah, for
you
sure.
go from High Point to UNC at like just in terms of I don't even know how old he is. I'll say 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. You're living the dream, dude. You go from High Point, who had a growth year, but now you're at UNC wearing Jordan brand. Good for you. Uh, enjoy your time at UNC, but 1 star.
Yeah, I gave him 1 star as well. The only chance for him to bump up to a two is because he is a Balkan boy, which I think should aid in the acclimation of Luka Bogovac to UNC, just with having Ivan in the States for the past year. But this dude, if you watch his tape, he's like chained to the floor. I get he's 7 feet tall, but this man cannot jump. I will say this, J man, if we want to compare our bench warming bigs, I do think he's better than Iffy. They
That's
but they both have no bounce at all. Like
Yeah, look, it is very fun. Well, it would not be very funny, but right now it'd be very kind of hilarious if it was Iffy and him one on one, like playing because God forbid something happened to Duke and UNC. The first rivalry of the Blue Blood, Corey Alexander on the call is those two guys going at it at the five position.
all right, let's get into our final question. So who do you think is the best player out of this group by the end of the season?
It's got to be Henry Veesaar.
Yep.
Just what we've talked about. You had him as a 5 star. I'm at a 4 star. Just he was a productive guy at Arizona. I think that's going to continue at UNC with a bigger role.
I'm with you on that. He was my exact same answer. What about the biggest question mark for this group?
I'm gonna go Jaden Young. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go biggest question mark. You hit on it, Kyan Evans. Like,
Mhm.
can you be the replacement that I have built you up to be with LA Cadeau? I think you're an upgrade with the role, but can you be that? That is a huge question mark. You and coming from a guy as a Duke fan, having point guard question marks is very. It's not fun to think about, but it can be a great answer to that question. So Kyan Evans is my question mark.
Yep, that's exactly what I wrote. I wrote, can Kyan Evans be a true lead guard? If you know Hubert Davis loves one thing, it's high ball screens. He's like, can he get Veesaar the ball to let him work on those short rolls? Can he feed him at the basket? Because I mean, Veesaar loves to dunk. He's got those long arms and can elevate above somebody. How is he in terms of making reads out of a horn set? Even that's another thing we saw Hubert run a ton of when he had the Caleb Love, RJ Davis backcourt. So can he answer the bell and show he wasn't just a system player for Nico Medved? And lastly, we will close with bold prediction.
Bold prediction. I think. Oh man. Oh, you go first because I got to think about this for a second.
So my bold prediction, Jonathan Powell starts more games than Kyan Evans. I think I like Kyan Evans. I was excited when UNC targeted him and signed him. I remember watching him light up Memphis in the NCAA tournament shortly before I watched UNC get embarrassed in the first half against Ole Miss and do the thing they did all of last year where they make a little fun hee hee silly face run and then ultimately lose. I remember watching Kyan Evans in that game and be like, this kid is a killer. So it's not even a knock against him. I just think his best ball, should he stay at Carolina beyond this year, would be a year two transfer for the Heels. And he settles in as more of a six man. I'm expecting, maybe not expecting, but I think there's a chance where Carolina's best version is Luka Bogovac as the de facto point guard, and they're playing through him and Caleb Wilson. And with Jonathan Powell's defensive potential, with his length and his 3 point shooting, that he's a smoother fit into that lineup there.
Yeah, see, I was going to go with something Jonathan Powell related too. I think that he's going to average, man, I want to say 10 points per game, at least double digits coming off the bench.
I like that.
I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say Jonathan Powell is a guy that is going to be a bucket getter for UNC off the bench. Though he shot it a lot at West Virginia, I think that UNC, the question mark is, can these bench pieces become something with this group? Like there's question marks around, but this is a guy that proved at West Virginia that he can light it up in certain times. And I think that he could be a spark for UNC to where he comes off the bench to where I like him in scoring double figures.
Yeah, I think I was talking about this with Isaac Shade, who hosts the Locked On Tar Heels pod. We did a breakdown of Jonathan Powell for one of his shows. Neither of us could really think of a time that Carolina has had, let's say, someone who could be a high 30s on good volume 3 point shooter coming off the bench. It's exciting for Carolina fans to think about just to have that extra piece you can turn to. And at this point of the offseason, I usually think depth gets overrated. Like pretty much every fan base this year is like, oh, we're so much deeper than we were last year. And it's like sick. You still only play five guys at a time. So sometimes I think depth is a little overrated. But if Powell, whether he's a starter or that sixth man, can knock down, let's say 37, 38, 39% of his threes, it's going to be a massive win for UNC. So really, really fascinating Tar Heels team to follow this year. I'm excited to see them get on the court and see some of these questions get answered. That's a breakdown of their transfer class, which again came in at number 19 for us.